to know, would you prefer that we share the screen from our side, or would you prefer sharing the screen from your side?
Maybe you can share from your side.
All right, we'll do so. There we go. And let me just, we've started recording as well. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the session on promoting change leadership in technology-enabled learning, TVET, specifically lessons from Zambia. And this workshop will be led by Gabrielle Konyauma, who is from the Ministry of Technology and Science in Zambia. Thank you very much, Gabrielle. You're welcome to take us through your workshop session. We're very much looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm co-presenting with my colleague, Luendo Mebin Wendo from the Technical and Vocational Teachers College. Yes, but also to mention that apart from Ministry of Technology and Science, I'm also the country representative of Image Africa. Sorry, I think I didn't close the other main session. So saying my other role is country representative for Image Africa, which is an e-learning professional network for educational technology in Africa. Then I'm also the UNESCO Invoke country coordinator for Zambia, with my director, Mr. Alex Mumba, being the head of the Invoke Center. So we can go, we're looking at promoting change leadership in technology-enabled learning, TVET, and lessons from Zambia. We can go to the next slide.
I've given you presenter rights, Gabrielle. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little arrow. There we go. So you're also welcome to move it. And Mabin also has the same presenter rights should they wish to move it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'll just go through the agenda for the workshop. So we'll be looking at challenges that are there when it comes to implementing technology-enabled learning, then the enablers for implementing technology-enabled learning. Then also we're going to look at how the Ministry of Technology and Science, where I work, address the challenge of change leadership in TVET. Then we'll look at some of the aims, the course aims of the Leading Change for Technology-Enabled TVET course that was held. Then we'll look at the methodology that was used in the course. Then we'll also look at key findings and reflections. And then we'll have some testimonials by course participants and discussion. But maybe we just need to mention that these testimonials by course participants will be spread out throughout the workshop. So we move to my colleague, Mabin, will take us through the challenges that are there when implementing technology-enabled learning. Over to you, Mabin.
Thanks, Gabriel, and good morning, everyone. My name is Mabin Luendo. I come from the Technical and Vocational Teachers College in Zambia, specifically on the Copperbelt province. I and my colleague Gabriel, we are excited to be part of the third fully online distance education symposium hosted by the Cape Town University. As Gabriel has mentioned, we are promoting change in leadership.
Excuse me, maybe just corrections,
yes,
by University of Pretoria.
By University of Pretoria, yes. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. Okay. Yes. We are really excited, and probably the first thing that I'm going to look at, colleagues, is as we share our lessons from Zambia, the challenges in implementing technology-enabled learning. Probably I'm going to pose a question as part of the task one from the participants here to basically identify or highlight or basically discuss the challenges that are faced during the implementation of TEL or technology-enabled learning. What do you think are some of the challenges other than these that we are able to see on the screen? What do you think are some of the challenges that are faced during the implementation of TEL? Anyone can raise a hand and probably mention.
Participants, you're welcome to use the chat pane, or you can switch on your microphone.
Yes. So please, you can type in the chat.
We are free to.
Or you can raise your hand. Okay, so Tony has mentioned one, a limited time of participants as one of the challenges. There's lack of skills.
As well as access
issues, yes.
Devices and bandwidth limitations. That's great. Any other? And I must make mention, as Tony has mentioned, on limited bandwidth is very common, more especially here in Africa, as you try to introduce them or implement TEL. There are those bandwidth or internet connectivity challenges. Okay, and we also have one list. Sometimes the teachers are unwilling. Okay, software problems, great.
Yeah, maybe to comment that where teachers are unwilling to explore, sometimes they could be a victim of their success. If, say, they are doing well without the use of technology, students are doing well, then they wonder why there should be any emphasis on using technology in teaching, because in any case, the students are still producing good results.
Okay, there is misconception that students will only play on the social media. For sure, at times it's one of those things that have led to poor implementation of TEL. Is there any other? Okay. Hardware problems or unreliable devices. Some devices are outdated. Basically, at some point they need updates. And usually we don't pay attention to devices that are updated. They usually give us a challenge when it comes to implementing or embracing the new technologies. We normally have those hardware and software incompatibilities. Thank you very much for those excellent response and feedback. Moving on to some of the challenges that we have highlighted here, Gabriel, the first one being that of resistance to change. Usually we always face some of the resistance to change when it comes to implementing technologies. Some educators may be resistant to adopting new technologies because they basically require them to learn new skills, or changing their teaching methods. Most educators, they get used to teaching the same way from time to time, and as a change in technology comes on, there is need for retraining. There is need to acquire new skills on the use of the new technologies that are being implemented. For instance, nowadays there is increase in the use of the AI in teaching. All these, they require a new direction in adopting the technologies. The other reason or challenge that is likely to be faced is lack of training. Teachers, lecturers, and staff may not have sufficient training to effectively deliver using the new technologies. This is also one of the reasons as one of the challenges that is usually faced in implementing TEL. Other than that, we need also to appreciate to say there is a cost in implementing technology-enabled learning. It is expensive to acquire the software and the hardware that will support the new mode of delivery. So schools may not have the budget line to invest in the new equipment or software, but there's the need that we need to move in the way we are to train, in the way we are to implement the technologies. And usually we find most institutions, they do not have a budget line in investing into the new technologies. The other part is that contains the technical issues. Technical difficulties such as software, gadgets, or connectivity problems, as earlier mentioned by Tony, which concerns also the bandwidth issues, the devices issues, are those issues that at times they hinder the successful implementation of TEL. The student access as well is a challenge in implementing TEL. There are times the institution would promote the use of void or bring your own device or come with your own environment. The students, not all students may have access to the necessary technology at home or in the learning institutions, which can create an even playing ground in the teaching process. It is one area that institutions need to critically look at as students are being introduced to the new technology. So they play a significant factor in the success of the implementation of TEL. The other part that we ought to mention here is that lack of poor institutional understanding of TEL issues, as well as lack of an institutional vision or strategic documents that would give a policy direction for an institution to embrace and use TEL. So most institutions find that they lack institutional vision of technology enhanced learning. Then the other challenges that ought to be appreciated is the lack of poor buy-in and support for TEL. Management, both management and basically everyone in the institution, there is need to buy in support for technology-enabled learning. Before we get to the next point to look at the enablers, I'll ask Gabriel in case there is a point that he needs to emphasize on the challenges in implementing technology-enabled learning in institutions.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe just a quick one. When it comes to lack of an institutional vision, I think most institutions, some institutions, maybe I should say, is that they feel that if they can just implement and things work themselves out, but without a clear policy direction or strategy or vision for TEL, then things won't work out as intended. And this is just not for TEL. It could be entrepreneurship, training, whatever it is the institution wants to implement. So the vision, the policy is very important. So that leads us to the enablers for implementing technology-enabled learning. Really, it's just flipping what we've looked at, the challenges. So there are many that we could look at, but maybe we'll focus on these 5. One enabler that is important is having well-designed change management training programs. So these should be designed in such a way that the staff are carried along, they know what's happening, why they change management programs, and you need good facilitators so that everyone in the organization is carried along if they are to transition or switch to technology-enabled learning. Then the second enabler is ensuring that there is digital skills and digital literacy training for teachers and educators. So we do find ourselves in a situation whereby some teachers, when they did their teacher training or lecturers, they did not do ICTs in education or educational technologies. So when it comes to using these technologies for teaching and learning, they are not so confident. So they need to have digital skills and digital literacy. So there are a number of frameworks that can be used. There's an ICT teachers competence framework which Zambia has adopted, the TVET sector, which has adopted and adapted for our situation. So that's an example of something that can be used. Then also identifying cost-effective devices. There's no need to go for very expensive devices which people won't afford and which will be difficult to maintain, but you can get cost-effective devices. I remember a colleague who was able to get Techno tablets at that time when they were available. They were quite affordable. And then he had an agreement with providers of content, teaching, learning content, which could be loaded on the devices. So it's really up to various institutions to look at what is it that they can afford. I was just buying a tablet from one of our subscribers, MTN the other day, which cost 700 kwacha. I don't know how much would that be in dollars, or it's almost 700 and something rand, 720 somewhere, and maybe in dollars it would be divided by 20, $35. So of course there are tablets that go as much as 2,000 kwacha, $100. So it's not a very powerful tablet, but something that a student can use, at least can load software, load OERs. So open educational resources also, these can be used. I find it strange that sometimes people insist on using recommended textbooks or prescribed textbooks, where it would be very difficult to get them when you can have open educational resources that are quality to be used for teaching and learning. Then also having virtual blended capacity building programs and conferences. This is not an easy one because sometimes people in their organizations may not be given time. Like just for instance, this particular workshop, some would have loved to attend, but maybe they have been given other assignments to attend to. So virtual blended capacity building programs are quite useful. And others for monetary gain, if they're not attending a physical workshop where they will be paid, they would rather not attend. But I think that's where change management comes in. People need to realize that there is value in attending quality virtual capacity building programs for digital education or digital skills. Then also ensuring adequate technical support for teaching staff and learners. It's a bit too demanding to expect the teacher to have the ICT skills and to do the background work of technical support if they're going to teach. So there ought to be staff in ICT who help in that, even helping the learners so that they can use the technology without so much challenges. Then last one, which is also important, is stakeholder engagement in policy development and implementation. Okay, so this is important, like the way the ministry engaged Commonwealth of Learning. One example, stakeholders. UNESCO also helps in development of policy. ILO has been working with us in the digital education strategy. So that's important. We'll end this part for now. I don't know whether we're supposed to have a break, a 5 minutes break. Are we supposed to have a break?
We can have a break or we can continue. I think from my side, I'm happy to continue if the other participants are.
Okay, thank you so much. So we can continue. So change leadership in TVET intervention. What did the ministry do? So basically what we did is identifying of capacity gaps in technology-enabled learning in TVET. This we did through monitoring and evaluation. Maybe I need to mention that this goes back to the COVID era in 2020 when there was shutdown and lockdown, and institutions had to close, students had to be sent home. So initially when, for instance, our management at the ministry asked institutions how they were doing, some would say that all was going well, but we knew that we were suspicious that that was not the reality. So we did some monitoring and evaluation, and found that some had challenges. Some did not even have internet at all in some rural institutions. So that gave us an opportunity to provide internet for them and to look at some of the gaps that were there. Teachers wanted to use technology, but they didn't have the skills to do so. Then we also engaged with partners. The Commonwealth of Learning has been a key partner for a long time. So we engaged them for content on change management course for technology-enabled learning in TVET for this particular course. And they were glad to share that content. And also they provided support in course delivery for 11 TVET institutions. So we identified 11 TVET institutions, almost equally shared among rural and urban institutions, or what we like calling the line of rail being from Southern Province, Lusaka Province, Central and Copperbelt provinces. And we had 35 participants, but along the way, one institution for one reason or another couldn't go up to the end. So it fell out and we remained with 10 institutions. Yes, so we got that support in terms of the content, and also there was a lead facilitator, a consultant whom co-engaged, who worked together with Mebin and myself in order to facilitate this course. So Mebin and I were the national facilitators, and we would support the institutions who were basically doing self-paced course. There were 4 modules. One of the modules, I think Mebin will talk about it. One of them was changing yourself and self-change, and then also changing others and institutional change and so on. So 10 institutions were supported to develop technology-enabled learning strategic plans. And then there was also, in the course of last year, the ministry, actually it was in August, the ministry working together with TVET provided capacity building in development of open distance and flexible learning institutional policies development. So this complemented what was done together with Commonwealth of Learning. So before we move to, I hand over the mic to maybe any comments or questions for what we've covered so far.
Thank you, Gabriel. I think I would comment on some of the interventions that was given by the internet service provider in the name of ZAMREN, Zambia Research and Education Network, in these TVET institutions, which is called EduRoam during the lockdown, and it allowed students from different institutions to have access to internet, to just walk to any TVET institution in their respective provinces or areas and access the internet services to enable them to, to have access to the learning content. So in all the TVET institutions, ZAMREN had provided education roaming, which allows all the learners, regardless of the institution they belong to, they can walk to any institution and have access to EduRoam. As well as the implementation of Moodle, the service provider provided access to Moodle to those institutions that never had hardware and software to support the learning platform. So the internet service provider, they made sure that they provided access to Moodle at no fee during the period of the lockdown. I think I thought of mentioning that as well. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Any comments or questions before we move to the next slide? Want to leave quite a bit of time also for discussion. So if you have any question, you can even type in the chat. We'll be happy to look at it. So I'll hand over to Mebin for the course aim and objectives.
Thank you, Gabriel. Participants are free to ask a question, and maybe before we look at the aims and objectives of the course that was conducted, if at all there is a question, a comment, please, you're free to turn on your microphone and contribute or ask a question. Okay, Gabriel, we'll be attending to questions as they come, or I haven't seen a hand that has been raised. We can look at the course aims and objectives. The course aim and objectives. The aim of this course was to enhance leadership capability, to bring about sustainable change through digitalization in educational delivery, as well as the other objective was to consider the sustainable change in behaviors of people within organizations, and therefore the organizational culture. Usually, organizational culture is always affected by the introduction of technology, and it also contributes to the successful implementation of TEO or any other technology-enabled learning that is to be introduced in institutions. So I ought to mention to say this course was part of a suite of capacity building training programs that were provided by CORE, as earlier alluded by Gabriel, to support the formal TVET institutions to bring about transformational change in learning and teaching. And all the institutions were basically encouraged to ensure that they have a reliable internet service or provision, as well as the provisions of the hardware and software that were needed to support the learning. Of course, I need to mention here that some of the outcomes that were expected during this period, or were that at the end of the course, the participants would have a core capability to be effective leaders of organizational change for TVET institutions, and basically also be able to set a strategic direction for technology-enabled learning and teaching within the TVET institution. It also aimed at developing and implementing operational plans to enable technology-enabled learning and teaching within the TVET institution. Going forward, I also want to mention to you that the 4 domains that the project targeted, or the course targeted, the first domain, it had about 4 domains or so. The first domain was personal leadership. Personal leadership was part 1 and part 2 of the course. In part 1 and part 2, learners had to take stock of their current leadership capabilities, identifying the leadership capabilities which they most need to develop, and put in place a personal development plan for enhancing as needed the core capabilities to lead a successful organizational change. Because as we implement TEO, as we implement these technologies, they need to show leadership, they need to show direction. So at personal leadership capability, the things that we were looking at is visioning, seeing what is possible now and in the future. Seeing what is possible now and in the future, and the future now is mainly looking at also the use of AI. So as a leader, we must be able to have a vision, and also being able to lead self-awareness and personal effectiveness was critical in this domain. And as well as inspiring others, setting a motivating climate that would support a successful implementation of TEO was very, very critical at personal level. While we also consider the aspect of motivating, or rather empowering others, enabling others to contribute and succeed. was one of the things that we looked at, under personal leadership. Communicating effectively, active listening, empathy, and storytelling was very, very critical at this level. And this level also did encourage the participants to think strategically. Creative thinking was required at this level. The future thinking, seeing through a multiple lenses, was very critical at this level. And opportunity recognition was encouraged under the personal leadership. The second domain looked at the leading self. Leading self was one component that was also critical during this period, as well as part of leading others. Leading self, leading others. The third domain in the course looked at developing strategies that would enhance learners or institutions. Gabriel, let's remain on the course objective for now.
All right, sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm just highlighting on the domains. Thank you so much. On the domain, before I bring you to look at the methodologies that were used, developing strategies. Here, the strategic capability were to develop or rather setting organizational vision, values, and mission for different institutions, as well as undertaking an environmental scan. Preparing an institution or all these kind of institutions were required also to prepare an organizational SWOT analysis that would help them in the successful implementation of SEL, as well as preparing an organizational gap analysis. Under this domain, we also looked with the participants setting the KPIs, setting strategic goals, objectives. The KPIs were very, very critical. The final domain looked at implementing strategies, which was part 4, where we considered preparing implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the plans that were developed as well as submitted to core. Under this, Gabriel, maybe you may want to mention on any of the domains in case I left anything, as well as before we invite the comments from the participants.
No, I think we've covered everything. It's fine.
Thank you very much. Maybe you can look at the methodologies, or we call for comments from the participants.
Perhaps a question from my side. I was wondering to what extent do you think that your findings are contextual to Zambia, or do you think you would have similar findings depending on, any other context that you find yourself in?
Or maybe just to indicate that we'll be looking at the findings, I think after 2 slides. I don't know if we could respond at that time.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank
you. Okay, Gabriel, if I told there are no other comments, maybe we can look at the next slide. You can look at the methodologies.
Yes.
You can pick it up.
I'm the one looking. Is it you? Is it me or it's you?
You can pick it up.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So the methodology that was used for the course delivery was using the Moodle platform for the Commonwealth of Learning. I'm sure some of us have used it. It's an open source learning management system. A number of the participants were already familiar with Moodle, having done previous courses with Commonwealth of Learning and other providers. So what we primarily used as a delivery format was text and video, short videos so that they do not drain data bundles from our participants. Now, these were enriched with asynchronous interaction through discussion forums. So it was a requirement for the participants that they do take part in these discussion forums among themselves, because they were divided in teams. The maximum number of participants in each team was 4. Then there were some which had 3. And this happened. At some point, I think there was I need to mention that this similar project was being done in the Gambia. People are confusing the Gambia and Zambia. So people joke that maybe that's why Gambia themselves the Gambia, so that we don't have that confusion. They were also doing the project at the same time, so there were times when there were discussion between them. Then the project found that all 10 colleges were able to develop institutional technology-enabled learning strategic plans. So we took them through. At the last workshop we had, the face-to-face workshop for a 2-day workshop in Siavonga, in southern Zambia. They were guided on various aspects of the strategic plan for technology-enabled learning. Then they started work on this and were supported right up to after the workshop, and they submitted their plans for validation. I don't know if there are any comments or questions on the methodology that was used.
Gabriel, I've got a question for you and for Mabon.
Yes, please.
The question is, given that your mode of communication was predominantly asynchronous, how much participation was there? And it's like, did you feel like there was a need for some kind of synchronous communication as well?
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Our comment then maybe can add, yes, we did feel that need. There are times when we felt that there was a disconnect or some participants were falling behind. So organize ad hoc meetings through Zoom and Google Meet so that we touch base with the participants who were falling behind. Maybe they were having challenges with the platform and so on. So basically we did that, but we also had scheduled meetings. I think maybe we'll confirm. This must have been every month where we'd meet synchronously. And maybe you want to comment?
I think, Gabriel, you have covered the aspects that all the interventions that we use to make sure that we meet our objectives during the course. Though it is also worth mentioning that institutions that were near our institutions, we made those efforts to meet them, sit with them, and help them push through the course. I think that is also worth mentioning. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so if any other questions or comments before we move to the key findings, and I'll mention 2 key findings, and maybe we'll look at the other 2. So maybe before we look at the key findings, let's just have one. We'll look at a video of one of the participants, then we'll look at another one later before we come to our key findings. So the first, I don't know whether we'll be able to play it directly from here. Maybe now you're able to do it from your end.
Let me see. Maybe I can share. I can paste the link so that maybe the moderator can play it from there. I've pasted the link. Maybe the moderator can help us play it. The first one I've seen the chat.
Vanessa, will you be able to share the YouTube link so that all the participants can watch the video together?
Of course, I'll do that just now.
Okay.
Hello,
Can you
my
see my
name
screen?
is Elizabeth.
Oh,
Yes, yes, we can.
I'm a trainer
okay.
in electrical engineering at St. Margaret Trades Training Institute, formerly known as Choma Trades. It's located in Choma, southern province of Zambia. In 2022, me and my two other colleagues were privileged to take part in the course known as Leading Change for Technology-Enabled Learning for TVET. This is a course that was organized by the Commonwealth of Learning in conjunction with TVTC and TVETA. Under this online course, we learned a lot. First of all, we learned the use of Moodle, the Moodle platform.
The charger for HP laptop.
And then we had modules that were helping us to be leaders in this technology-enabled learning. The modules included leading yourself for institutional change. In this module, we learned how to be leaders for this change. If we need technology to be in our institutions, are we able to be leaders to bring about that change? First of all, it had to start with ourselves, leading ourselves, and then leading others. The second module was also talking about leading others, our other colleagues, for institutional change, bringing on board management to come and help in changing the way we teach from the original face-to-face or traditional face-to-face to a technology-enabled learning, because as we all know, the world is revolving, and so technology has taken center stage. Then there was a module also that was talking about strategic planning, what is there to plan about, looking at opportunities, using the SMART objectives, also the strengths and weaknesses as individuals, as leaders, and also as an institution. What opportunities are there for this change to take place? What are our students capable of doing? Do they have smartphones? Are they able to do this? What about the others? What resistance is there? This was an eye-opener. Then the other module was talking about implementation. After we have done the strategic planning, the implementation phase. I'm happy to say the Moodle platform has been set up for us, and our colleagues are slowly adapting and transitioning from the traditional face-to-face to the Moodle setup. We thank you, Commonwealth of Learning, and we ask that you continue giving us the support that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel. Would you like for us to put the slides back on again?
Yes, maybe we have prepared. Yes, I think you can put back the slides. Then we can watch the other testimonies later. We have one or two more. You can put back the slides.
Also, maybe just note that we still have 10 minutes left for this session.
For sure. Gabriel, are you there? Gabriel? Okay, I can pick it up. On the key findings and reflections, The key outcomes under this is that participants were made to create an institutional enabled technology learning plan or strategy plan, as we have heard from one of the participants coming from the Lulo part of Zambia, who is a lecturer in electrical technology. So participants were made to create technology or to develop rather technology enabled strategic plans that were made to be approved by their board and management. And after they were approved, they were sent to core for them to be provided with institutional support in terms of financial and support in implementing these strategies that would enable them, to teach with technology. Of the 10 institutions that participated, 4 of them had their institutional TEO strategic plans approved by Commonwealth of Learning, and they are currently being supported by CORE financially, and also Commonwealth of Learning is providing also some equipment to support the successful implementation of these strategic plans. Institutions were as well
Maybe?
of the yes, please. Sorry.
Apologies.
Sorry
The
for
sound
that.
no, the sound was delayed for a moment, but you're back again.
Yes, I'm back. Thank you very much. I was saying institutions were advised to form technology-enabled learning committees, where members of these committees were drawn from different departments to form up a TEO committee for successful implementation of the strategies that were developed with the support from CORE. So institutions that have not yet had their strategic plans approved by management were advised to have them approved as soon as possible and be submitted to Commonwealth of Learning for consideration for financial and other technical support. I must mention that all the 4 institutions that were whose strategic plans were approved, they are currently being supported by the Commonwealth of Learning, and me and Gabriel, we are also there to make sure that we provide a continuous support where need arises. It is also worth mentioning to say it is planned that a study on effectiveness of the training received be conducted in similar and a similar training be conducted for more institutions after the review of the initial course. We have other TVET institutions that never took part in the training, and we feel the support should be extended to these other institutions so that they can also have a training in the leadership change for enabled TVET. Gabriel has just joined us. Gabriel, I've gone through the 4 key findings and reflections. Maybe there's something that you may want to say before we pray the last 1 or 2 reflections from other institutions. Gabriel? Okay, Gabriel will be joining. He seems to have gone offline. I want to share another link. Kindly play it as we look at the reflections. I've just shared in the chat. Let's play that one.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe before we pray, Gabriel, you can say something. You had gone offline. Yes, Gabriel. Gabriel, are you there? Okay, maybe we can go ahead and play the testimonies from one of the participants. I've just sent another one.
Perhaps Maiben is supposed to mention that we have 5 minutes left. So I think
Yes,
after I share this presentation, then we can open the floor for questions and comments.
Yes, please. That will be the last one. Actually, it's the last one.
All right, let me just quickly share. There we go.
My name is Frida Mlembe, a lecturer at Technical and Vocational Teachers College, TVTC. I would like to thank the Commonwealth of Learning, TVET, and TVTC for having given me and another team an opportunity to study in a course Leadership in Technology-Enabled Learning in TVET. In this course, we were able to acquire the skills of a good leadership. I was also able to understand how to handle issues to do with resistance when it comes to the implementation of the project. The other skill that we were able to acquire was that of how to develop an operational plan and also a strategic plan. This course having been more practical, we were at the end of the day as TVTC made to prepare the TVTC ODFL strategic plan. This plan has since been approved by the Commonwealth of Learning and its implementation has started. With the ODFL strategic plan, TVTC will be able to ensure that quality education is offered and also that many students have access to education. This is because there will be more use now of blended learning where technologies will be incorporated in our teaching and learning.
Thank you very much. I think we can open up for questions, comments. Gabriel, are you there now?
Yes, I am. I think the internet failed me. I had to connect to another device.
Okay, we have just played the last video clip, and I looked at the findings and the reflections. Maybe you can say something as we are opening interaction with our participants.
Yeah, maybe just a quick comment on the institutions that did their strategic plans. For those whose plans were not approved, we still want to work with them to ensure that they get approved strategic plans and get the necessary support. Then we're also working with the institution that did not even develop a strategic plan alone. So maybe at their own cost, if they can invite either maybe or I or both of us to help them finalize a strategic plan. Okay, so I thought I needed to make that comment.
Thanks, Gabriel. We are open for comments. Please, participants, you can unmute your microphone and ask a question or type. The floor is open.
Yes, Tony.
Thank you, colleagues. I just want to note that I've seen presentations from Gabriel and other members of the team about earlier versions of work with TVET colleges. And I'm just thinking that this has gone through many layers of evolution to get to the current stage. So my question is, what's the biggest learning that you had between your early prototypes and your current version of the training with TVET colleges in Zambia?
Yeah, okay, I'll attempt then maybe can chip in. I think what we realized that previously, for instance, when we worked with Commonwealth of Learning, would have like face-to-face workshops for 5 days and maybe 50 participants. But I think what we realized that participants, of course, it was good to meet them in person, expose them to experts and rich content, but There was not really that buy-in. That's my impression. Maybe no comment. It's like after the 5 days, they go back. People don't share what they have learned with their colleagues and it's like business as usual. When we have another workshop after some years, and if we were to search our files, we'd find we have very rich workshops we've had, but there hasn't been that significant change in terms of distance learning and using technology-enabled learning. Yeah, maybe you can comment. So that's why we thought that maybe we needed a blended of online, where the learners or participants take responsibility with support from experts who model how to learn online. Because in any case, if they'll be teaching distance learning, they must also learn how to learn from a distance and then have some sessions face-to-face. Maybe you can comment.
I think Gabriel, I think that is the comment enough. It's the same situation that we have observed. I remember we discussed this. I think I have no other comment apart from that.
Okay, I think our time is up. Just thank you very much to everyone. I think there was a question earlier on whether these findings can be applied to others. I would want to think generally they can. Generally, I think our challenges are similar across the continent and even outside Africa. You find it even in the United States, in rural institutions, there are similar challenges. So thank you so much. Please, let's connect.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabrielle and Maven, for this wonderful session. It's unfortunate that we've run out of time. I think it would have been nice to have a few more discussions. Just a friendly reminder to the rest of the participants that you actually need to leave this room and then via the program access the next room that you'd like to join. So at 11, I think 25, we will then have our next presentations taking place. Thanks so much, everyone.